Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Namu Myoho Renge Kyo. Hello there, everyone. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thanks for being here. We're going to continue with a treatise on protecting the nation. We're going to deal with, in this next part, something that is an important facet of my practice. And I've had varying degrees of reactions from certain videos I've posted regarding the errors and just the deep errors that are being promoted by certain organizations and sects, calling out specific individuals for their misinterpretation and actually determined abuse of the true Dharma, misleading countless thousands and thousands of people with their aberration of the meaning of Shakyamuni's teachings. And I've gotten some backlash, as you might expect. People telling me that you're not supposed to speak badly of other practitioners or especially leaders. And so I hope you're paying attention to this as we read this treatise on protecting the nation. Nichiren makes no bones about the depth of influence of Buddhist practice. Yes, it's a personal practice. Yes, we practice for our own enlightenment, our own fulfilled expression of our maximal potential in this human life. And so here we go. Question. According to the Brahmanet Sutra, slandering the four categories of Buddhists, such as monks, is a major sin for which one is expelled from this order. Therefore, is it not an act of inviting the hell of incessant suffering to accuse Genku, Honen, Shonen, of slandering the true Dharma? It's a logical question. Much of Nichiren's focus throughout his teaching career and his teaching of the doctrine of the Lotus Sutra has been, at times, completely focused on demolishing the other 8 sects existing in Japan at the same time as Nichiren's life, right, in medieval shogunate Japan. Most notably, the Pure Land Sutras, the Nembutsu, the chanting of Amida Buddha, leading to enlightenment or the Pure Land after one's death, which is abhorrent to every teaching Shakyamuni ever gave. That Shakyamuni was very clear. Buddhism was about this life and how to live it to its utmost, right? So to get people to believe that their utmost life would happen after their death, horrible perversion, right? And Nichiren pointed it out constantly. So this question says, well, doesn't that kick you out of Buddhism? Criticizing another monk. Right? It says so in the Brahmanet Sutra. So here's Nichiren's answer. The Nirvana Sutra, Facile 33, states, quote, Kashyapa Bodhisattva asked the world-honored one why he predicted that Sunaksatra Zensho Bhikkhu would fall into the hell of incessant suffering. This is Shakyamuni himself saying another monk would end up in hell, right? The lower realms of samsara. And the Buddha replied, quote, Gentlemen, Sunaksatra had many followers who all considered him an arhat, a sage who attained enlightenment. In order to crush such erroneous thinking, I predicted that Sunaksatra would fall into the hell of incessant suffering due to his licentiousness. Nichiren continues, licentiousness in this passage designates, quote, slandering the true Dharma. Just as Sunaksatra did, Genku, who has been the subject so far, who slandered the true Dharma, will also fall into the hell of incessant suffering. Without knowing the evil of the collection of passages on the Nembutsu, Genku's disciples nevertheless call Genku a man of wisdom mastering all teachings, regarding him as an avatar of great power obtainer bodhisattva, or Mahastha Maprapata. Indian words. Or that of Shandao. In order to refute such erroneous thinking, I pointed out Genku's sin of slandering the true Dharma at its root. This is exactly what is preached in the Nirvana Sutra already cited. What is preached in the Brahmanet Sutra cited above means that those who slander the four categories of Buddhists, except for slanderers of the true Dharma, will fall into hell. This does not contradict what is preached in the Nirvana Sutra. Therefore, the Buddha warned his disciples, quote, those who do not reprimand slanderers of the true Dharma are not his disciples, end quote. Thus, it is stated in the Nirvana Sutra, Dharma are not, Facile 3, quote, suppose after my extinction there will be a monk who strictly observes Buddhist precepts, acts with dignity, and believes in the true Dharma. Upon seeing those who destroy the true Dharma, he should at once chase, chastise, and punish them. At once. Then he will gain immeasurable happiness, end quote. The sutra says also, quote, suppose there is a virtuous monk who, upon seeing slanderers of the true Dharma, leaves them alone without reprimanding, chasing, and punishing them. You should know that he is an enemy of Buddhism. I don't want to be an enemy of Buddhism. I'm spending my life promoting Shakyamuni's teachings as best as I'm able. Do I want to be guilty of allowing complete slanderers of Shakyamuni's teachings, of Nichiren's intent, and elucidations of the Lotus Sutra? Do I want to say, well, it's not my problem? It certainly is my problem. Says so right here. Shakyamuni said it. Many monks and bodhisattvas have said it. And Nichiren certainly is saying it. Yeah? Destroying the sanctity of the seven characters, Na, Mu, Myoho, Renge Kyo, and deciding on a whim We're going to say it different. That's a profound insult to Shakyamuni Buddha. Saying that you should chant for things. I can't think of a more distorted, upside-down world thinking. Promoting that as Shakyamuni's Buddhism, it hurts coming out of my mouth. And yet that's what SGI does. I have to call them out if I want to consider myself a true Buddhist. In Shakyamuni's image, in Nichiren's image, my mentor. Not calling these charlatans out would be a grievous error, a sin, if you want to call it that, for me. I'm not doing all of this hard work of study and practice just to piss it away on cowardice. No, I'll call them out wherever I find them. And so there's my justification from Nichiren's mouth. The sutra also says, quote, suppose there is a virtuous monk who, upon seeing slanderers of the true Dharma, leaves them alone without reprimanding, chasing, and punishing them. You should know that he is an enemy of Buddhism. That makes an indelible mark on my consciousness. If he chases, reprimands, and punishes them, he is my disciple and a true Shravaka. And in this sense, Shravaka being a student of Shakyamuni Buddhism. Hoping to be counted a disciple of the Buddha, this is Nichiren now, I wrote this book to define the sin of slandering the true Dharma and propagate it among the many people. May Buddhas in all the worlds in the universe help me disseminate this book and stop the worst Dharma spreading further in order to save all people from the sin of slandering the true Dharma. Namo Myoho Renge Kyo, Nichiren. Thank you. Chapter 5. Where are we time-wise? The difficulty of meeting good friends and the true Dharma. In this 5th chapter, which is divided into 3 sections, I would like to explain how difficult it is to meet a good friend, parentheses, reliable teachers, and the true Dharma. In the first section, I will explain how difficult it is to be born a human being and to encounter Buddhism. In the second section, I will illustrate that even if one is born a human being and encounters Buddhism, difficult as it is, he may fall into the 3 evil realms if he associates with evil friends, evil teachers. What are evil friends, evil teachers? You know I'm not fond of those words, evil and so on, sin. But they do point to an essential truth. These evil friends, these evil teachers are the people that would deviate from the correct teachings, the people that would influence you and others toward misunderstandings, toward erroneous practices, away from the intent and attitude of self-practice, mind training, instantiating Buddha in the mind, perverting that somehow, either out of ignorance or for their own gain. That's evil in Buddhism. Being an obstacle, right? In the third section, I will elucidate about a good friend for the unenlightened in the latter age. What does that look like in our time? Section 1, the difficulty of being born a human being and encountering the Buddhist Dharma. In explaining the difficulty to be born a human being, and to encounter the teaching of the Buddha, the Nirvana Sutra, Facile 33 states, the Buddha then picked up a small portion of soil, placing it on a fingernail, and asked Kashyapa whether or not this was more than the soil in the worlds all over the universe. Kashyapa Bodhisattva answered the Buddha, quote, "World-honored one, the amount of soil on a fingernail cannot be compared to that in the worlds all over the universe." With this simile in mind, the Buddha preached to Kashyapa, quote, "Gentlemen, it is as rare as the amount of soil on a fingernail for a man to be reborn as a man, or for those in the three evil realms to be reborn in the human realm, equipped with all 6 sense organs, in the central land of Buddhism, and furthermore to have the correct conviction and confidence, study the way of the Buddha, attain freedom by practicing the correct way, and then to enter nirvana. On the contrary, it is as vast as an occurrence as the soil in the worlds throughout the universe for human beings to fall into the 3 evil realms. For those in evil realms to be reborn in those evil realms again, and for those who are born into the human realm without having 6 organs properly functioning to be reborn in remote corners where Buddhism is unknown. To believe in evil ideologies or to practice evil ways without ever attaining freedom or nirvana. So, again, there's some liberties in the translation here about after death and prior to death. Anyway, it's a confusing thing in translations that we encounter all the time as we study Buddhism. And I keep trying to bring you back to the idea that we live 3,000 realms in every single thought moment. That's birth, death, much faster than I can say it, right? And so our minds change that quickly. We're not even able to perceive the amount of changes and decisions that are made in our minds completely. We just get this superficial kind of experience trickling down into our consciousness, right? This is the speed of karma. This is the speed of being manifested from these constant flows of energy, of which are constantly changing, right? Impermanence. Nothing is real in the sense that it isn't static. Everything is constantly moving. Look at the whole universe. Everything is in that state. The delusion we have because of our slower perception is that things exist and they become permanent. And yeah, someday this stuff will disappear or degrade and disappear. But no, understand that in right now, this moment, that guitar case I'm looking at is expiring, is going away, is no longer what it was 5 minutes ago. I know it looks the same, but that's just the fallacy of our human senses. We're not deeply conscious of the processes at work throughout the universe, let alone our own personal environs in life, right? We know this intellectually. We know that every cell in our body is constantly being reinstantiated, replaced. Our bodies are amazing mechanism of doing this constantly. So much so, some replace sooner than others. You know about how your skin flakes off, right? Dandruff. This is skin cells having experienced their duration and sloughed off, died, and being replaced by new, renewed skin, right? And we know that approximately 7 years Every cell that makes up our eyes, teeth, heart, liver, bones is totally new. It's never existed before. Our whole body over a period of 7 years has been completely rebuilt. It's kind of insane, mind-bending to think. And then consider the idea that I've never changed. I'm the same person I was last year. I haven't changed at all. Well, that's a lie. It's not even a reasonable thing to say. Physically, it's not a reasonable thing to say. And certainly I have more thoughts and constructions and evolved thinking in my head today than I had last year. We know this. So why do we make things static? That's death. That's failure to understand the process of life and how precious it is. So when we talk about entering realms, well, we go through 3,000 realms in every single thought moment. So we're constantly flying through them. The question is, where do we exist experientially in this moment, the next, the next, the next, the next? Each of those moments follows the death of the previous moment and the birth of a new moment. How that moment is experienced is the distillation of the realms that we are putting ourselves in. Yeah? So that's what that's talking about. Nichiren continues, many teachings are condensed in this passage, so some words of explanation are needed, as I just obviated. The number of human beings who will be born in the human realm after a death is as small as the amount of soil on a fingernail, while those who will fall into the three evil realms are as vast as the soils in the worlds all over the universe. So that's a proportional thought to grasp. The number of those in the three evil realms who will be born after death in the human realm is as little as the amount of soil on a fingernail, while those who will be born in the three evil realms after death are as innumerable as the soils in all the worlds of the universe. Those who will be born human beings are as numerous as the soil in the worlds of the universe, but those who will be born human beings with the six senses functioning properly are as small in number as the soil on a fingernail. Of those born human with six senses properly functioning, those born in the remote areas are as numerous as the soil in the worlds all over the universe, but those born in the center of the land are as small in number as those of the soil on a fingernail. Even those born in the center of the land are as numerous as the soil in the worlds all over the universe. Those who encounter Buddhism are as minute as the soil on a fingernail. So he's driven the analogy into the ground a little bit, but you understand, he's saying it's a very unique thing to be born a human being. It's an even more unique thing to be born a human being with all your faculties intact so that you can think clearly, with common sense, with agency, with clarity, with an unattached mind, or the capacity for an unattached mind. Reason, logic, right? Not everybody has that innate skill. And of those people, much fewer of them will encounter the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha. And you could say a small amount of those will actually practice. And of those, how many will attain their awakening, their enlightenment? with all of the diversions and the misleading teachers, so on and so forth, right? Understand, in other words, how incredibly fortunate we are to experience this precious, mind-altering teaching that we might manifest our maximal potential and liberate ourselves from the sufferings from deluded thinking, attachments and permanentizing and thingifying. It's all a practice of mind, perception, experience. It doesn't change the physicality of the world. It just changes how you experience it. The Nirvana Sutra states also, quote, those who do not become ichantika, those without the Buddha nature, or incorrigible disbelief, do not serve the root of virtue and believe in this Nirvana Sutra are as minute as the soil on a fingernail. I think that's supposed to be Those who become ichantikas cut off the root of virtue and do not believe in the sutra are as numerous as the soil in the worlds all over the universe. Again, making that scale argument, right? According to this passage, those who do not believe in the Lotus Shingon Sutras become ichantikas, are as many as the soil in the worlds throughout the universe, while those who believe in the Lotus Shingon Sutras are as meager as the soil on a fingernail. Seeing this passage, and thinking of my fortune in encountering the precious true Dharma, I feel so moved that I cannot suppress my tears. This is Nietzsche. From what I observe of people today in Japan, most of them are practicing expedient means. Provisional teachings, right? Although they appear to be practicing the true teachings in body and mouth, they still believe in expedient teachings deep in their hearts. They're not evolving. They're hanging on, there it is, attachment, to things they find easier, while they mouth and pretend to reach for Buddhahood in their minds. They actually hold on to inferior teachings that make it impossible for them to attain Buddhahood in their minds, because they don't buy it. For whatever reason, they don't have that confidence. Therefore, Grandmaster Jendai says of these people in the Great Concentration and Insight, Facile 5, quote, ignorant people, heavily dosed with poison, losing their minds, cannot believe in efficacious medicine. Since they cannot believe in it, it does not help them at all. They are erred, sinful people. Those who dislike the world seeking the way of Buddha by clinging to expedient teachings are like those who try to cut a tree by trimming the leaves and branches instead of chopping the trunk. They are similar to a dog who befriends a servant instead of its master, and to those who revere a monkey as Indra or take pieces of tile or pebbles for gems. They are unreasonable. How can we discuss the Buddhist way with them? End quote. And this throws me right back to a video that I just recently finished on addiction. Until you get your mind clear, right? Your mind of reason, your mind of logic, your mind of weighing things appropriate, common sense. This is what Buddhism is about. It's about your mind. It's about your attitude. It's about your intent. Buddhism is not magic. Buddhism is common sense. And if you're not willing to perceive things as they are with common sense and reason, then you are deluded, which is the natural state of samsara. The delusion of things being extant as permanent, static, unchanging. This is a great obstacle. And you must do whatever you can to disabuse yourself of that obstacle. Seek the Sangha, seek advisement, seek assistance to get back to your reason. It's quite literally what Tendai just said. So Nichiren goes on. How are we time-wise? Reflecting on this passage, it can be seen that Genku and his disciples have been heavily intoxicated with the three poisons of greed, anger, and stupidity. And they have lost their true minds, with which they had listened to the great universal wisdom Buddha preaching the Lotus Sutra. Suspicious of the Lotus Nirvana Sutras, they have become Ichantika and believe in inferior teachings as the Sutra of Meditation on the Buddha of Infinite Life. Adhering to the expedient teaching of calling the name of Buddha of Infinite Life that is worthless as rubble. What did he just say? Nichiren called the Nembutsu, the chanting of Amida Buddha to get you to the pure land after you die, pure rubble, nonsense. They have revered priest Honen, or monk Honen, who is as ignorant as a monkey, taking him for Indra, the wisest, and have abandoned the Lotus Nirvana Sutras, which are as precious as the wish-fulfilling gem, slandering the holy teachings of the Buddha. This is because they are unable to distinguish the expedient from the true teachings. There goes Nichiren, calling out the baloney. Yeah. Therefore, the annotations on the Great Concentration and Insight, Facile 1 states, this is Tendai, those who listen without revering the perfect and sudden true teaching are influenced by the recent academic tradition of mixing up expedient and true teachings among those who study Mahayana Buddhism. Those who do not know the difference between the expedient and true teachings of the Mahayana are referred to as mixed up. As a result, those who believe in the Lotus Sutra and the true Mahayana teachings are as rare as the soil on a fingernail, while those who do not believe in the sutra are diverted to expedient teachings are as immeasurable as the dust in the worlds throughout the universe. They appear to be practicing Buddhism. They call themselves Buddhists. But in fact, they're missing entirely the point. They're in love with rituals. They're not in love with the target. How many times do we see this theme play out in Buddhism? Don't get hung up on the words, get hung up on the meaning. What is being said with the words. Don't get hung up on the stories about the mental changes and processes. Get in love and focus on the point of understanding those mental processes. The goal of how to clear those mental processes out of the way so that you can experience the one vehicle, Buddha in your mind. Regretting this, Grandmaster Miao Lo laments in his annotations on the Great Concentration and Insight, Facile 1, quote, in the age of the semblance Dharma and the latter age of degeneration, our age, people are so heartless and impious that they don't even try to contemplate the perfect and sudden true teaching, scriptures of which are overflowing the libraries and chests to the very end. They are born and die in vain. How pathetic their lives are. End quote. This remark in the annotations by Grandmaster Miao Lo, an avatar of a bodhisattva. Avatar is a word that's suddenly appearing in these translations, a different group, an embodiment, if you will, of the bodhisattva. I believe is his long-range prediction on the state of Japan today in the latter age of degeneration. So before we go on with this next question, I'm going to take a break. I need to. And we will continue on this next question in the next video. Question being, some disciples of priest Honen revere all the Buddhist scriptures and practice the Lotus Sutra. Why do you refer to them all as slanderers of the true Dharma? Good question. And we'll find out in our next little talk. Thanks for being here. I appreciate your diligence and your willing to deepen your convictions, to keep your practice strong. Your participation in liking and subscribing, please do that. And share, if you can, with others. Don't forget the audio podcast, the website, the bookstore, the mandala store, right? And in the meantime, I will continue to study and bring to you as best I can the accurate teachings through Nichiren of the Lotus Sutra. Thanks again for being here. Oh, and my patrons, my goodness, you're always on my mind. If you have suggestions for what you might like to see or hear me address, I'll find teachings, or I will remember teachings that come from Shakyamuni Buddha and Nichiren and Tendai and so forth, so that our Sangha can have a strong, unshakable conviction in Namo Myoho Renge Kyo. Thanks for all your participation, and I will see you in the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.